Hey folks, need to find out where to get one of those fancy microphones that Mazzy had. I'm Gavin. I am really glad to be back here again. This is my 8th FinJS that I've stood here and talked about OpenFin, except I'm not talking about OpenFin tonight. I'm talking about here. I'm not wearing my OpenFin polo, so I feel a little bit naked on stage. I'm not, thankfully, for everyone involved. Mazzy talked about our enterprise browser, and I want to talk a little bit about the principles that we had going into launching this new product. So the first thing we wanted to do was to launch something that was familiar to users. We've launched something we're calling an enterprise browser. People have expectations about what browsers do, how they look. We don't want them to learn whole new tabbing systems or where the menus are. Little things like that that cause friction. We want it to be easy to use out of the box. So we think it feels like a browser, and it looks a bit like a browser. You've got a familiar tabbing system. You can open content in there, so Salesforce running, still looking a lot like a browser. Where do you search for things when you're using a browser? Well, you use the search tool built right into the browser windows. A lot of the common use cases that we have for the workspace product are coming to life directly inside the browser window here. Now, everything I showed there is a bit like what you'd find in a browser, but the reason an enterprise browser is useful is we want this to empower users with their workflows. So we all know that one of the core features of OpenFin historically has been the ability to bring those multiple applications built by separate teams and bring them together into a single window where they interop with each other. In the enterprise browser, we call these things super tabs. The reason they're super is it's a lot of different apps that would be separate tabs on your regular browser that you have to toggle through, and we all know how much that costs in terms of productivity. Then they also talk to each other with what we call signals. Now, signals encompasses a few things. If your apps are built with FDC3 or you're using interop APIs, they're just going to work in here. They're going to share context. No fiddling around with color channels and linking this thing to that thing. It's really simplified and easy to use. And the last piece is touching on this idea of we want this to be like really easy to consume, rapid configuration and deployment. And winding the clock back and looking at OpenFin historically, like when we started out with that container product, you're looking at 6 to 12 months on average build times to stand up a platform, maybe even longer in some cases, to get your team together, build a platform, get it deployed out into production. Now, we shortened that a lot when we launched Workspace a couple of years ago, where we provide those out-of-the-box UI components. And we got those times down to 3 months perhaps. But with the enterprise browser, because it's configuration-based, you're getting that down to a week to a couple of days even. Why? Because when we say it's turnkey, it's because we're providing the complete back end for this browser. We have a number of services that underpin it. Things like an app directory, user management, persistence, all the things that a platform team inside a large institution would typically have to build themselves and build a platform around. This is what's powering the product under the hood. And then to actually stand it up, you don't need a developer to write that app directory or someone to go add some code somewhere to add a new application. You configure it through our admin console UI. This is where you can add applications and manage your users. We can take a quick look at this just now. So I've got our admin console running here just now. We've broken it down into the few sort of key sections that you need to get going. We integrate with various identity providers. That's where you can see the users that are available within the system. You can see what groups, etc., they're a part of. You can create your own groups. This is how you manage your users. Not every user inside an organization wants or needs access to the same set of applications. Managers might get some applications. Trading desk might get other applications. Maybe UK folks get certain applications. people in the US. The list goes on and on. It's completely flexible to create these group definitions and manage your users into the appropriate groups. Then, when it comes to adding content, it really is as simple as providing the URL to the content and then mapping that content to the groups that should have access to it. Should everyone get access to it, or just certain groups within the organization? All of this being done without a line of code. If you want to see more of that, we've got demos running downstairs after. So, Mazzy touched on this as well, but what about the container? What about workspace? Are we just building this browser thing now? Mazzy's already answered that. No, we're not just building the enterprise browser. If we take a look at, this is a picture of how this works. OpenFin is still there under the hood. Still the container, our adapters, everything that everyone's used to using is still there with Workspace, all part of the OpenFin product. The enterprise browser is built on top of the same SDK that our customers are using to build their platforms. The difference being, we have our services that power this product, and if you want a turnkey solution, the enterprise browser is an option to take. If you want to build a customized platform and really get into the weeds of designing your own services or really customizing your UIs, we're still here for you with those products. We are going to make one small change. So the picture is not going to change that's on screen, but some of the words are. We're going to call those existing OpenFin products, and this will be one of the last few times I say OpenFin, here core. Okay, when we're talking to our customers and our prospects and introducing things, it gets pretty complicated talking about OpenFin and what's OpenFin. Everything is going to be here. This isn't going to happen overnight, but you're going to start hearing us talking about here core. It's still the exact same stuff that everyone's used to using today. Still got those workspace UI components, the container, the platform APIs, and then we have the here enterprise browser built on top of that same core. Speaking of here core, I've got a couple of minutes left, so I did want to squeeze in some of the useful things that we've added in new releases of the here core offering. So I've talked about this before, and we delivered it this year. Secure by Default has been a huge program for us in the past, where applications are only given access to the APIs that they're allowed to use. That is managed through desktop owner settings and managed through registries. That does cause some friction with end users, because if your application is running on a machine that isn't configured, they're going to get these pop-ups. But not anymore. We can now give you a signed certificate that grants permissions to your application, and users don't get these dialogues that they don't really understand what they mean. A big one for developers out there is we have added throttling controls to our views. Web browsers are designed to throttle tabs that aren't visible. If you're using Chrome or Edge or Safari, it puts things to sleep to save battery, CPU, memory, etc. We can now do the same things with views, because the last thing you want is something that's running with ticking prices or sending information to other views that are part of your desktop, for that thing to go to sleep when it's not visible. And the last thing we added, there's a guy in an OpenFin polo, is video support. So H.264 video is now supported in our underlying container. It's the most popular video format on the internet. It is also one of the most complex when it comes to licenses. So this is something that's enabled by getting a key from us to enable that video playback. There's also other licensed audio codecs that you can now use. So if that's something that you're interested in as well, something you can talk to us about, and we can sort out those keys for you. So hopefully what you've heard from me here today is this idea that we've got our turnkey enterprise browser product, which we believe is great for productivity and for getting going quickly, and carries a lot of the core concepts of what we've been doing for years into that easy-to-consume product. Under the hood, there's still here core. exactly as you know it, with the same capabilities and the same growing capabilities that I've outlined here, plus so much more. If you want to find out more about these things, you want to see them in action, swing by our booth. I've been Gavin. You can get me there. Thank you.